riding to the long lines. I mean, we're scanning everybody in, but in light of what happened yesterday, you can see why everybody's got to have their bags checked. We're talking about what if you're not aware of what happened in Denver in the City Hall Park. Somebody needs to do a few more dabs. That's what I say. Anyway, I know you guys are all alert and everything like that, so I got a stoner question for you. I got a little bit of math here. A stoner can make one joint out of every 6 roaches he has. That stoner has 36 roaches. How many joints can he make?
6.
Wrong. Come on, folks. Think. Kids, I was going to give away the joint. It's 7. Once he smokes 6 joints, he's got 6 roaches left. Come on, get with it. God damn it. Jeez, I thought you guys were sharp. I hope CNN or anybody isn't here because very, very, very disturbing. We'll give this to the panel. Anyway, I suppose you all know about social media. You've heard about that. You've heard about the worldwide interweb. I've heard that you can even get, it on your cell phone. I don't know how to work this yet, but I hear you can actually get the interweb on it. So social media is huge. It's what's driven our movement forward. And we have a terrific panel here today about the social media. And to moderate that panel is one of my good friends. She's the managing editor of High Times. She is also the hostess of the podcast, Jen's Music Stash. Everybody, the managing editor of High Times magazine, Jen Bernstein.
Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the first Cannabis Cup in the United States. You guys did it. You made it. You're all here. Thank you so much for coming. Really excited. We have a great panel today. I am Jen Bernstein. I am the managing editor for High Times. And usually when we go to these things, we ask you to turn off your phone. Not today, people. Okay? We need everybody to turn on their phones and log on to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And that's really where we all live. Google. So please, turn on your phones. Even this morning on CBS Sunday Morning, they were saying about how social media plays such an important part in our lives. Pretty much, where were you at 420? Where were you for the first Denver Cup? We were all here. We can tweet about it. It's the place we want to be. So, what we're doing today is we want you to join the conversation with us. And what we're going to do is we're going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves. And then we're going to invite you guys the floor to talk to everybody here. And what we want you to do is use hashtag HTSocial. And that's how we're going to follow along with the conversation. If you want to get me, Jen Bernstein, at High Times, it's JB Music Stash. And otherwise, let's get started. First up, we have Radical Russ Belville.
I had to tweet out the hashtag.
Well,
Caught me by surprise. Hi, my name is Russ Belville, and I am the executive director and chief bottle washer and all of that for 420radio.org. It's a 24-hour cannabis community radio. It's like public radio for pot. We're member supported. We do pledge drives, just like PBS or your local NPR station, except our music is much better and the conversation's about marijuana. So I encourage you to check that out. I had the idea for doing this when I was working for Normal. I used to work for Normal from 2008 through 2012 doing their podcast. And the technology, when I started podcasting, if you wanted to do something live, you had to haul boxes and boxes of stuff in flight cases. It was prohibitively expensive. Now, if you visit my booth out there with 420 Radio, the entire mobile studio to stream live fits in a carry-on that you can get on an airplane. And that's why part of the social media panel is so exciting, is that, you know the old saying, Big Brother is watching you? Well, now, Little Brother is watching everything. And the videos that we get, I mean, you just saw what happened in Boston this week as far as trying to track down those bombers. People had cell phone cameras, and people had cell phone videos, and were uploading and checking Twitter and Facebook and all of that. So that's why I'm here, part of 420radio.org, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about later.
Thank you, Russ. Next, we have Bianca Barnhill, Living the High Life.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? You enjoy your first U.S.
Cannabis Cup? Well, I am an activist and a contributor to High Times Magazine. I sit on the board for ASA, Americans for Safe Access. I originally didn't intentionally start my blog, Living the High Life, for external people other than my family and friends, and it's led to getting a fan base, and I'm really proud of it. Just being able to normalize what the cannabis consumer and a medical patient looks like, acts like, and spreading the word and the message for the movement really gains me a lot of pride, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Bianca. Next, we have Lenny from Hail Mary Jane.
All right, I'm not as good as these guys. I actually wrote something up because if not, I would just sit up here and ramble. So I'm going to go into that. Hello, my name is Lenny Gator. I'm originally from Montclair, New Jersey, hometown of the first medical marijuana dispensary in the state. I did not grow up as a stoner. When I was in high school, I was one of the leaders of an anti-drug program similar to DARE. I didn't start smoking until I was 22. And I appreciate that I got the chance to see the other side of the marijuana argument so closely at a young age, because it allowed me to see the other side of this battle very clearly. I originally started Hail Mary Jane in 2006. The tagline is, it was supposed to be a sports blog, and then I got high, and that is actually true. The site was originally sportfiends.com and was sports focused. The name and theme was changed a year later. I wanted to cover urban culture, sports, fashion, as well as music and events. Marijuana was originally not planned to be a focus, but the timing was perfect. At that time, blogs were starting to really become popular, but there were few marijuana culture blogs. Marijuana law reform and acceptance was also higher than it had ever been. Every time I would write a story related to marijuana culture, people were super receptive, so that slowly became the focus. HMJ has steadily grown and opened up many opportunities for me. HMJ now has around 10 team members, and we were invited to cover events in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Denver, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Boston, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, and Amsterdam in 2012. This year, we already have events booked through September. I have also worked with various clients as a social media consultant, including Complex Magazine, Village Voice, and Westward, to name a few. Social media was always an integral part of HMJ's marketing strategies. With a very low budget to begin with, I started out promoting HMJ on social news websites like Dig.com, Reddit, and StumbleUpon.com, which would drive traffic immediately. Eventually, we moved to working with Facebook and Twitter. These days, we're also using Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram a lot more as well. Each network requires different strategy to build a loyal following, but it is always worth it. I've used social media to drive more than 13 million visitors to HMJ in 5 years and sent tons of traffic and new product sales and millions in ad revenue to my clients that I've worked with in this time. The power of social media is undeniable, but just like anything else, there are downsides. The time it takes to execute properly, the lowered level of privacy, and learning how to deal with controversy and criticism in a public setting have all been bumps in the road that I've had to learn how to deal with at one point or another. Despite this, my team has persevered, and through social, we've developed tons of new relationships with businesses, fans, and followers, and fellow activists as well, that you can't get by buying followers or assigning interns to do the social media work for you. There's not one business running today that cannot benefit from having a stronger online presence. And I hope that everyone here utilizes the time with these social media superstars that I'm on the panel with. I feel honored to be a part of such an intelligent, cutting edge, and courageous group of individuals on this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lenny. I love when people come prepared, right? No, we are all prepared here. A lot of people think that stoners are not productive individuals, but we really are. Up next, we have Paul Token.
Well, first off, thank you everybody for coming to Denver. I myself am a Denver native. I moved around a little bit in my life, but I came back when I had the chance. And I love it here. I love seeing everybody come out in full force to support the city, to support what we're doing here, to support the movement as a whole for the world. Because right now the world is watching us. That's something that I've learned with doing my show. I'm not sure exactly what to speak about. Everybody else is probably a lot more prepared than I am. That's why I come in this kind of preparation and I do as much pre-game as possible. Because I don't know, I'm not a social person at all. I'm at home when I am at home behind my own video camera. But now I'm in front of, I'm not even gonna try to count them, but it's awesome seeing everybody out there doing their own thing, broadcasting perhaps to their own little audience. And that's great. It's awesome to hear the stories of people when they come up to me and when they talk to me about how I've inspired them to do anything, inspired them to follow their own personal dreams. Because it's all it's ever been about for me, is about showing the world what my own personal world is. And that's just a guy getting stoned, having a good time, enjoying this herb, enjoying what it does, in allowing me to engage with people. So thank you. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you all. If there's any Token Daily peoples out there that are in the audience, I don't know.
Woo!
Go ahead and stop.
Yeah!
Thank you, Paul. Skipping ahead to Coral Reefer.
I am halfway prepared, I would say. I really liked hearing from everyone so far. One of my favorite things about social media is that I can bring forward what I've experienced and what I've learned, and I can hear back from people all over the world their own experiences, their own truths, and it's actually brought forward a lot of misinformation. What I do is I run a question and answer show every Sunday. We call it Stony Sunday. I take questions that are cannabis related, but also culture related, and just what it's like to be a patient, to be a cannabis user, sometimes just to be a woman in this community. And I just try and, like Bianca was saying, normalize the face of the patient, normalize what it is to smoke weed every single day, to still go to work, to enjoy what I do and not want to hide it. Not want to have a stash box that I put away, have to spray perfume in my room, hide bongs if something breaks in my apartment before the apartment manager comes over. I'm sick of that. So I just try and talk about it as much as I can. With social media, I really loved hearing from the viewers the new things to be on. My favorite new thing is Vine. I don't know if anyone's on Vine here, but there's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, as Lenny mentioned. There's just so many, and it really is, there's a place for everyone. No matter how you feel comfortable, if you communicate visually and you want to post pictures, Instagram's a fantastic way to meet so many people. And with videos, with what Paul does, posting a video every single day, that's a whole nother world right there. I couldn't do it, you know? So there's something that we each can bring to the table, and I think social media really allows everyone to find what they're comfortable with. So you can find the question and answer show I do at StonySunday.com. I love all of the Stony Sunday shirts in the crowds right now. Thank you guys. Thank you, Reaper, so much. I love you guys. And also CoralReaper420.com is my blog, which I wanted to touch on what Bianca said about starting her thing just to be for friends and family. My cannabis thing was almost an opposite of that. I had my Facebook for friends and family, and they would tell me that they couldn't have me on their list if I was posting about cannabis because their boss might see it, their friend might see it, and it made them uncomfortable. So I started, just another one. I was like, Mom, don't add this one. I'm going to just have my friends add this one. And there was such an amazing interest in it. And it's that surprise that everyone wants to talk about pot, and we're happy to do it, So it's a blessing to be up here. I feel honored to be among these amazing people and in this amazing crowd. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Coral. That's awesome. I just want to quickly talk about why I'm here. Obviously, I'm the managing editor for High Times magazine. So, every 3 weeks, High Times, we're putting out a new publication. It's awesome, and there's so much attention and detail that goes into putting out a printed piece of publication. We work for weeks, months, we have planning meetings, but on a day-to-day basis, I love to take photos. I always have my camera out. I love people, and I just want to talk to everyone all the time. So that's why I'm social. And I started at High Times about 1.5 years ago. And within, I want to say, like the last 6 months to a year, I started my own podcast called Jen's Music Mustache, which deals with mostly bands that I like to go see and reviews and festivals. And that's a great way to get out and meet people. And there's such a large crossover between music and weed. I mean, they go hand in hand. So I really welcome you guys to listen to Jen's podcast, Jen's Music Stash, and also check out Free Weed with Danny Dako, which is another great High Times podcast, High Times Radio. You can also find me on Instagram, I like a lot, NYC Jam Gal, and also on Facebook, Jen's Music Stash. One of our photographers shot this great cola, and it looks like a mustache. So that's kind of fun. So today we're going to take questions from the audience. You can use hashtag HTSocial. You can direct it to one of the panelists. And maybe Bianca, you want to talk about this and what you do, and how to gain followers and how to help get the message out, and how you feel about it.
Well, again, like I said, for me, when I started it, it was for friends and family, and I got such a great response. And like Coral Reefer said, you know, everyone wants to talk about pot, and normalizing the cannabis consumer on social media. I think that this movement has really grown to what it is today because of social media. We're finding out so many more things about the science of it, and the people who were potentially leery of it in the past are now looking into it because we're spreading the message. So basically for me, and I'm sure a lot of the panelists, it's really about spreading this message. I did mention normalizing the cannabis consumer, which really helps. You know, a lot of my friends at first, when I started telling them I was a medical patient, it was like, oh, yeah, right on. You know, I got the real, you know, goofy response from them. And at this point, you know, I'll post pictures of myself as an activist on Capitol Hill with you know, signs and whatnot, and people are starting to take this movement a lot more seriously. So for me, those are the types of things that I post, and even in my friends and family circle, I've, you know, turned a lot of people on to the information, and they've looked into it, and it's literally saved a lot of people's lives. So the social media really, you know, gets just the movement out there, as well as, you know, ourselves as consumers.
Right, and I would like to also add, like, how do you build a brand? I mean, essentially, you become an expert in the field, but do you see yourself as a brand, and how do you build yourself, your image, whether it is by photos or by, you know, should you tweet every day, and how much is too much? I mean, I'm sure everybody, you know, you have 4 or 5 different accounts. Like, how do you stick with the one? So let's just talk a little bit about branding, and whoever wants to take this question is fine. Maybe
I'm going to speak on this a little bit. I have a lot of accounts, if you guys follow me. I have found success with having different accounts because not everyone wants to know what you ate for breakfast, and not everyone really cares how your day was at work. A lot of people do. But what I do have is I have a stream just for my show, for Stony Sunday, and that's where I have updates about how the recording is going, how uploading is going, if there's a problem, where they can find more information. And I have the fans add that. But if they want to get to know me more, I do have more of a personal account. And then for building a brand, I find consistency. I find a lot of people start posting, and a couple months in, they're like, I don't know, no one's watching, no one's paying attention, I'm over it. But you have to do it for the pleasure of it, because that's what's going to keep you doing it every single day, or every single week, or whatever your routine is. And after a year, people pay attention. After 2 years, people pay attention. So building a brand, I don't think is something you can ever do overnight. You can start brainstorming a lot of ideas with a good smoke session overnight. But it's going to be consistency and just doing what you want to do every single day, regardless of whether people are paying attention. That really gets their attention eventually.
So consistency is key.
I just want to jump in on that too. Definitely, that was exactly what I was going to say. Consistency is key. Really learning about the different social networks and how to use each social network, because all of them are different. So building the following on each social network is not going to be the same, and it's really important that you actually use them. It's really important that you actually interact with readers. Like, I've seen all of these people on here using social media for a long time, and especially when it comes to branding, like, they've all been doing it for years. And I've seen all of them for a long time. So it takes a long time to really be consistent. People need to know that when they come to your feed, or they come to your site, or they come to whatever, that they're gonna get this good information. And like she said, even if nobody is watching, it has to come from you. It has to be something that you're passionate about, or else it won't last. So, you know, whether it's marijuana or whether it's whatever, if you're using social media to try to get it out there, really be consistent, really use it, really interact with people, and then really like just make sure that this is something that you love, because there's going to be lots of bumps in the road, and really that passion is the only thing that's going to be able to push you through most of the time.
One last thing, just sorry, before, with the finish point with Lenny, is before, like when you're trying to build your brand and you're posting the content and no one's watching, no one's looking, they're going to go see that later. When you have new eyes on you, they go and look at your backlog. And so I think it's really important to do what you want to do professionally from day one, like you have the 1,000 eyes already. Really, you know, because they're going to go back and check it out. And so I just want to touch on that. So I really want to hear your
I was going to expand on what Coral said a bit about the multiple accounts, because I think now I have maybe 7 Twitter accounts at this point. And when you have that many, you got to have software to deal with it all. There, I use one called TweetDeck, or Hootsuite's another one, I think is the Apple one. But yeah, so I got these different accounts, and the reason why is, like when you're building a brand, you want to be, like you said, consistent and honest, I think is another thing. With mine, I've got Radical Russ on Twitter, which is just my id. Anything that comes to mind, I'm going to blurt it out, whether it's about TVs or politics or whatever. Then there's RB Show 420. Well, that's just going to be stuff about the Russ Belville show, where I'm going, what events are happening, you know, get the news kind of thing. Then there's 420Radio.org. Well, that's for the network and what's going on the network. But I think of all the accounts I have, the latest ones I'm most fond of. You guys know who Kevin Sabet is? Kevin Sabet is like the #1 drug warrior right now, because he's proposing this kinder, gentler drug war. Let's not throw him in prison, let's force him into rehab and P-test him, right? That's his gig. So this is the perfect lesson about how we are winning as the cannabis community against these ideologues. They cannot compete with us because, #1, we have truth, facts, science, and logic on our side. But #2, we're all communicating and connected now. And we don't have to hide in the smoky closet. Even if you are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Maples Fort, or wherever you're at, you can get online and hang out with Paul Token and do dabs, or you can get on the net and read what's going on in Hail Mary Jane. So we all are now communicating, and they can't beat that. Here's how they tried. Kevin Sabet, when Massachusetts was trying to pass medical marijuana in 2012, they had it was question 3. It was on the ballot, and it was polling in the 60%, right? Everybody's thinking it's going to pass, it's a slam dunk. So Kevin Sabet formed a PAC called Vote No on Question 3. Vote No on Question 3. He did a press release, had a big, press conference. We're forming this PAC, Vote No on Question 3. What he didn't do is get the web domain VoteNoOnQuestion3.org.com and .net. Mike Can out of Boston went and bought that. Next day, he had a website up that was all parody. It was all like, if we pass medical marijuana, there will be a shortage of Twinkies. Or the Mayans predicted the world would end in 2012 because of marijuana. And the Red Sox are in last place because of pot. All these just ridiculous things. So, as the election happened in November, we passed here in Colorado, passed in Washington. The prohibitionists went nuts, oh my God. They've started this new group called Project Sam. And it's Patrick Kennedy, and it's Kevin Sabet, David Frum. They're on all the talk shows now, MSNBC, Fox, all these things, saying, we need to force people into rehab. So, they called their group Project Sam. Unfortunately, ProjectSam.com already existed for some technical thing. So what did they pick for their website? They picked Learn About Sam, and SAM stands for Smart Approaches to Marijuana. So a group called Smart Approaches to Marijuana went and got the website Learn About Sam, and I thought, he wouldn't be so dumb as to forget to get the web domain for smartapproaches.com, .org, and .net, would he? Well, prohibitionists don't learn from history, or else we wouldn't be here. So he did not get those domains. I snapped them up, and I made a website called, it's up there now, smartapproaches.com, Project Samuel, Smart Approaches to Marijuana Use Except Legalization. And it is a page-by-page mock-up of every single page they put up. I twist it and give you the facts as to why they're wrong. And the minute they put something new up, I duplicate it on that site. I've got more hits on my site, more followers on that site than they have on ours. He also didn't get Smart Approaches on Twitter or Facebook either. This is how we're winning, because we're smarter, we're more creative, and we're better looking.
I want to say, I'm sorry to cut off the applause, but I want to say I fucking love Russ, and especially the better looking part, definitely. I vouch for that. But I just wanted to add one more point to what Coral said before, because I think it's really important that you think about this. Like, HMJ didn't really start getting attention until I started treating it like it was already a big website. Like, I started treating it and running it that way. That's when it started to really do that. But a lot of people will wait and be like, oh, you know, once some people are reading, then I'll start doing it or whatever. No, you have to be like that from day one. You have to run it like how you expect it to be if there's a million people following it from day one.
And let me add to what you do at Hail Mary Jane that I have watched that is really great. You do advertising with your stickers, and you go to local events where other people are like paid dues and the things in Los Angeles, and integrate your brand with celebrities that are performing, and you do a lot of, and that really helps your brand. They're all marijuana related, obviously, but you know, local community events and being able to brand yourself. I mean, you just with stickers. That's how I found about it. There were stickers everywhere at this Smokeout Festival in California.
And I agree. I think we should. What are some of the first steps that people can take? Whether it is making sure that you have the correct URL and domain name. Is it trademark and copyright?
Well, this industry is
What
booming,
are the first
so
steps that people need to take? I mean, I think it's part of the brand. It's part of, you know, maybe it's just finding a name. Maybe it's your name.
If I can start with that, I'd say to start with something original, because there's way too many parody names out there already. So just go with it, or go with whatever you feel works for you. Start doing what you feel passionate about, it's already been talked about, and make an effort to go above and beyond in your choice of media. If you're filming it, if you're taking pictures of it, take the time to take a good picture or a good video that you're happy to watch, that if you, as a random viewer, would come across this video, you'd be like, damn, that's a good video, I like this. Take the time out of your day to produce something like that. Don't just film something or take a picture of it or talk about it if you're just doing like a radio or a speech. Research your topic and then take the time to get the proper angle on that subject, and then apply it to whatever media source that you are projecting on.
And hopefully these sources will be marijuana or cannabis. And I know it's probably a little bit strange, like, or you may feel uncomfortable at first posting about marijuana or cannabis or taking a dab or explaining to people what you're doing. Does anybody have a good story about?
Actually, on the branding before you go, the only tip I would do is once you have the name that you like I started doing Newsnet, where I just kind of retweet or bring up stories that have come across the news, either from Radical Arrest or from Huffington Post. I found a lot of stories as well that are just coming across in cannabis culture, laws that are passing, people that have been arrested. And when I decided on Newsnet, I went and I did the Ustream, got the Newsnet thing. I went and did newsnet.com, and then also Twitter and Instagram. And by doing it all in one day, I'm not going to run into the problem that these prohibitionists have later, where 3 months down the road, I'm like, oh, maybe I should sign up for that account. Someone snapped it up, and maybe they're posting pictures I wouldn't approve of with that name. So I would say just be really thorough. Go think about what's popular. I've heard a lot of what social media to be on from the social media I'm already on. You know, Facebook told me to get on Twitter. Twitter told me about Instagram. It all kind of fell in place.
Yeah, that's a good, you know, I've just barely, you know, I'm an old guy, I just barely got onto Pinterest. And if you don't know what Pinterest is, it's like if you're surfing the web and you see a picture, you can say, oh, that's cool, and it'll grab that picture and put it in like a bulletin board for you, so you can collect a bunch of pictures. For me, it's invaluable because whenever a news story comes up with a poll or a chart or a graph, I'm Mr. Data Guy. I'm all about that stuff. So I have a board called Radical Arrest Data, I think, up on Pinterest. Like when that Pew poll came out, bam, I got 18 different crosstabs on the Pew legalization poll. When there's a graph of DEA budget cuts or budgets, yeah, like they're going to cut budget increases, that graph is up there. So yeah, pay attention to what the new social media are that are coming out, and you don't have to be on all of them, but find the one that works great for you. Pinterest is awesome for me because I'm that visual data graphs guy. Instagram, not so much because I like to collect my photos and put them up later. I don't need the instantaneous nature of that, but there's something for everyone.
Right. Since we are starting to get a few questions coming in, I want to make sure that we start to get to them. So we have a tweet here from Greenslide Fox at 7420, and she wants to know, PA is pushing forward to medicinal approval with legalization quickly following. Do you think this will trend through the rest of the U.S.? So she wants to know, so Pennsylvania is pushing forward to medicinal approval with legalization quickly following. Will this be a trend?
It should be. I mean, I think medical marijuana can be the end of the drug war. You know, 68% of the drug war comes from marijuana, so.
And maybe that's what it takes. I mean, I live in New York. We don't even have decrim. We just kind of ended stop and frisk. But you know, we have neighboring states.
And talk to them, have a friendly conversation, and if they are not educated in the realities of marijuana, then just politely inform them. Let them know that it's not the demonized substance that the United States has made it out to be since the late 30s.
Just a media perspective, which will be the next state to legalize?
Okay. Oh, well, Alaska's looking this up for 2014. Oregon's looking for 2014. California's pretty much agreed to 2016. Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont are all up to bat for 2016. Which one would go next? My dark horse is Maine, but I'm from Oregon, so Oregon, baby. Yeah, of course.
I'm taking Oregon too.
Hey, I did want to make a mention on that, to follow up what Paul was saying about talking to people no matter where you live, because I know I got a lot of fans from like Texas, Florida, a lot of places where you don't talk about it, right? You don't talk about it, right? So one of the things on that, how powerful this is to spread your actual physical real world networks of people you talk to about this, was a poll that came out in 2007. Minnesota was trying to pass medical marijuana, and somebody commissioned this poll in Minnesota, and they asked 2 questions on it. The first one was, do you support medical marijuana? And about 3 out of 4 people said, yeah, I support medical marijuana. Then they asked, does your neighbor support medical marijuana? And 3 out of 4 people said no. So propaganda on the drug war has gotten us so frightened of talking to each other that we believe over half of our neighbors don't agree with us when they do.
And here we all were so surprised too when we got such a response that people wanted to hear about pot, because I think we all believed it too.
Yeah, and
and
that's
no
why
one cared.
we've got the Facebook, we got the Google. They can't stop it anymore, because now, used to be, if you wanted to find somebody, that's what, I mean, the whole reason we're here at 420 was because we couldn't say to each other, hi there, hey, would you like to go meet and smoke some pot? Right? We couldn't say that. We'd have to say, hey man, it's almost 420. You dig? Right? We had to be sly about it because we're outlaws. Are you 420 friendly? And well, now that's not even a code anymore. Everybody knows what it is, but that's the thing, is now that we have Facebook and these internet connections where we can kind of be pseudo-anonymous and the rest of the world doesn't have to know that we're talking about it, we can now really talk about it online, through Twitter, through Facebook, through emails and all that, and that's why we're winning. That's why these polls for legalization are up over 52% now. That's why medical marijuana is over 81%, because no matter how much the government wants to blab and spend $1 billion on anti-drug advertising, when you talk to someone who's real and you know them, you go, wow, this lady smokes pot, she's got her shit together, oh my God, you know? Oh, that guy smokes pot, he's a lawyer, oh my God. And the reality overwhelms all the propaganda.
Absolutely.
I kind of want to touch on that, is it going to trend medical to legal? A lot of people wanted to sell the idea of medical marijuana that it's not going to bring legalization, it's not going to bring recreational use, it's something totally different. And I think that was an honest sale at the time. I think that we really, in California, I mean, I didn't create the laws, I was not around at the time, but they created it for patients. But the byproduct is that we started seeing what patients looked like, and we started understanding that patients aren't just in hospitals, patients just aren't on hospice, patients are people on this panel. You know, they're people that identify as wanting to smoke weed every day to enrich their lives, to have a therapeutic benefit, and that they find helps aid them in what they need to do. And so it kind of brought legalization forward because people just changed their perspective of what a patient was. And it wasn't something that we really intended with medical, but we're getting there with legalization, I think.
And on that trend on medical, I do have to make one point, and that is the trend on the West Coast versus the trend on the East Coast. Since New Jersey, the trend in medical marijuana, the past 4 jurisdictions that have passed it, has been no home grow. In New Jersey, it's 3 strains allowed, less than 10% THC. Wow. One place to get it in a state of 9 million people. DC, similar, no home grow. Delaware, no home grow. New York's bill, or Illinois' bill that they just passed the Senate, no home grow, and a qualifying list of conditions that's this long when you're reading it on screen. There's no chronic pain, severe nausea. There's chronic severe pain, just specifically labeled out with etiology and diagnosis and all this crap, because they have to keep trying to find a way to keep the potheads out from all the patients. Well, smoking pot's bad, we got to find a way. And medical marijuana gets narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower till the only people who can qualify for it are, cancer patients with 3 weeks left to live, and they can only be smoking on Tuesdays at 4 in the morning in their basement chained to a radiator. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, yes, we have to fight for medical, and yes, that's a trend, and that's what starts to open people's mind, but never lose sight of the goal that you have to present full legalization to people, because as long as it's immoral to be a healthy person smoking pot, they're always going to pass restrictions that keep some of the sick people from being able to qualify. My ex-wife runs a clinic up in Oregon where they had to turn down hospice patients because he didn't have the required paperwork. Guy's in hospice, he's gonna die, let him smoke. Sorry.
Thanks. Thanks, Russ. No, and that's actually one of, yes, it definitely deserves a clap there. And that's how I found you, Russ, is I remember a presentation being brought to High Times and the differences between having medicinal and legalization. So I want to get to another question. This is from Jesse Toker, and I'll let you take this, Lenny. I believe it's a he. He's wondering, how much do you think you've learned from being a part of the social community? And can you admit to any mistakes along the way? You take that.
I've made a ton of mistakes along the way. I'd say that, when I first got into social and stuff, there weren't a whole lot of people, like there wasn't Tumblr at that time, so there weren't a whole lot of people like taking pictures, smoking and all of that kind of thing. So I think one of the biggest things I've learned about it is just like really like how many people, even if they don't like support like legalization or whatever, just how many people enjoy this plant, you know what I mean? And how diverse it is. Like just look at this room, like you see like a ton of different races just in this room, you know what I mean? And it's something that really, really brings people together. And I think just trying to build up my own brand has just taught me a lot about like life in general, a lot about relationships with people, a lot about how to cultivate those relationships, and it's really just helped me to grow tremendously. Now, as far as mistakes go, I mean, like tweeting the wrong thing is always a bad thing. Made mistakes as far as like content goes, and people have been very critical of me.
Can you give any specifics?
Yeah, I can actually. So, one of our marketing tactics, good things about social is, it doesn't really matter what you did yesterday. It's all about today. It's all about this moment.
I gotta take responsibility. I was one of those critical people, and I was upset to see a blog that I also supported, Stuff Stoners Like, to see something so similar on Hail Mary Jane. And I think the conversation that went down was beneficial for people to see. Like, we were able to just have it out in the open on Twitter. Anyone that followed 1220 or